Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Game of Trades and this is going to be a technical analysis of crude oil WTI futures. We've had huge developments in the past few weeks, huge downside in crude oil, so I've got a lot of things to cover in this video. First I want to address our short trade is officially over. We did have a short trade off of the break of trend line here. We had nice RSI divergence, price making a higher high was RSI making a lower high. We had the exact same thing in the beginning of 2018 at the exact same level. So you can see the same divergence at the same level. So we did predict this move down, and I had laid out three different targets that we could get that we could get to in crude oil. You can check back on my videos. These are my three targets from the beginning, and we recently hit our third and final target. So the short trade is over. I have closed out all my short positions in crude oil, and that's about it for the big short trade. Now we did have a small long trade here at the first target. Just because nothing changed in my analysis. Essentially, off of the high here, following this divergence, I had laid out two potential scenarios. Either we correct and reverse off of one of these three targets and continue on higher, and that would make this an uptrend, and this would just be a counter correction in an ongoing uptrend, or this would be an impulsive correction all the way down to potentially lower than here. And I said that that would happen if we start to break under this final target, and so far, we're right on it. We'll see what happens. We can't really conclude anything right now. We are right below it, so we'll see if this level regains, and then we could continue on higher, or if we backtest it and start going down lower. So that's basically the summary I want to give from the beginning. Now, from a technical standpoint, what do I see? It's become more and more clear to me that crude oil is in a hectic phase, and this is perfect for swing traders. You have huge swings in price, down, up, down. The price is just going all over the place, and that typically is very good for swing traders and very good for momentum traders, because this is predictable. These moves are just all about momentum and where the sentiment is, and you can easily trade that with the MACD. Now here on the daily chart, you don't see much swings in price, but if you move on to the weekly chart, you'll see a lot of interesting things on the MACD here. We had a crossover to the downside, and that led to this nice big wave down. Then we had a wave up. We started curling down, and here we have our nice bearish crossover. So this essentially is extremely bearish, and you can see we're doing that right at the zero line on the MACD, which again signals us that we are in fact in a bearish long-term trend. And last time that would happen, we were here, we stayed under the zero line on the MACD right up until right here, and you can see that was a bearish trend. And what this is telling me is that we may see much more downside in crude oil, and we may continue to form this kind of bottoming pattern to then put in some divergence lower and start going higher. So right now my outlook on crude oil is essentially quite bearish, seeing this impulsive break of trend line. I don't see crude oil going, um, reversing that easily. It would have to work off of this huge downside very quickly if we want to see some more upside. So right now, this is not looking good, especially with this bearish crossover on the weekly chart. Now let's get back to the daily chart. Now on the daily chart, we also have some technical bearish developments. You can see on the MACD here, we have just crossed below the zero line. So we have the MACD under the zero line on both the weekly chart and on the daily chart. And if you've been following me for a while, I follow the MACD zero line very closely because that tells me it is further confirmation whether prices is likely to go up or down in the near future. And if we have both the daily chart and the weekly chart being under the zero line, that means that both on the short term and the longer term, we have bearish indications. So this is really not good for bulls in crude oil. So I'm not gonna open another long trade on crude oil, even though this does look essentially like a good buying opportunity. It would just be too risky considering all of these developments. Now we do have some oversold readings on the RSI, but you can see how oversold the RSI can get on crude oil. That is not an indication that I'd like to pay much attention to, at least until we see a good evidence of a reversal. Now, lastly, I do want to go back to say that we are essentially under the resistance level here that I noted. This was my target, so this was the support level, and now we broke under the support level, and it is now acting as resistance. So until we regain this level, essentially, the technical picture is bearish, and if we start, going, having some more red candles under this level, it will just continue confirming the bearish implications in the long term. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for right now. If you're long on crude oil, wait before it regains this 54 level. It needs to pump back above this 54 level, and then we'll see what happens on crude oil. But until it does that, I remain bearish. Very bearish. If you guys do want some levels to watch for a potential short trade, but I'm not gonna, speak too much about that right now. This level, if we break this level, it would be waterfall selling all the way to below, all the way to 40 around. So that's about it. So that's probably my preferred scenario right now. I'd say we'll consolidate here, and perhaps not. We might continue just going down without stopping. And when we break through this 50 level, we'll go all the way down to the 40 level on crude oil. That's my preferred scenario. But again, I can really, if we start to regain this level, my outlook will change overnight. So don't take this analysis for be all and all. So that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. In the meantime, good luck, and see you next time.